Good morning, folks. How are you? Coming at you today with another vlog. This one is going to be on whether or not you should turn around and get your own authority, or if you should sign on to a trucking company as an owner-operator. But before we get started, guys, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below your opinions on this topic. Guys, I'm just going to jump right into it here. This is 100% my opinion. I have never been a owner-operator signed on to a trucking company, so this is my thoughts on how it works. If I am wrong about any of it, please go ahead and comment that below. Correct me, and I will try to learn from them the same way you guys are trying to learn from me, I guess. But let's jump right in. So should you or should you not get your own authority? I guess there's pros and cons to both depending on the way you look at it. One of the things you have to think about, if you have your own authority, you have to do everything yourself. If you are running under someone else's authority as an owner-operator, yeah, your life is probably going to be a little easier. And there's going to be times where both of them or either of them will make more money than the other. A quick little thought on that is if you're out there running under your own authority, you have to book your own loads. And if you're running under someone else's authority, I would assume that you're probably just calling a dispatcher that is assigned to you, and it is that dispatcher's job to make sure they have a load for you for the next part of your journey. Whereas if you are if you have your own authority, you have to book them all yourself. You have to turn around and make all those phone calls, whether it's on a whether you're getting them off of a why can't I think of it now, an online list there. You're booking them on like Central Dispatch or any of those. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank this morning on that. It's been a little while since I've had to do that myself. But yeah, you have to call the brokers, you have to call customers, you have to go book it all yourself. Whereas if you are running for someone else, that's not something you have to really worry about all that much. The next one you got to really think of is, guys, you have to turn around and fill out all the sub-hauler agreements. Now, they're not that bad when it comes agreement to agreement, but at the end of the year, a lot of times, most of the companies want you to sign a new agreement for the next year. And if you're signing a new agreement for the next year, a lot of times you have to spend the weekend printing out hundreds of agreements, signing them, and faxing them back, and then chasing them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday the next week, making sure they got the agreements and they didn't just get lost in the shuffle. So it can be tedious. It's really not that bad. It sounds a lot worse than it is, but it is something that you're going to need to think about. If you're signed on with someone as an owner-operator, that's not something you ever have to worry about. You just turn around and either you renew your owner-operator's agreement with them, if that's something that they actually do, or you just keep running day after day after day after day, and that's it. That's the end of your worries. Another thing you really got to worry about, or really have to take into consideration, is your insurance. I don't think, but I don't know for certain, that you have to get your own insurance if you are an owner-operator, but I know for a fact that if you are if you have your own authority, the insurance is 100% on you. Now, that doesn't sound like it's all that difficult, but it can be, because you almost have to be an expert in insurance to make sure that you have the right coverages for what you need. Because these agents, they will lie to you non-stop, telling you, oh yeah, you're completely covered, everything's fine. You get in a wreck and realize you don't have nothing. Which is something that happened to me. We didn't get into a wreck, but when I started using Nastic as my insurance provider. They are a fantastic company out of Nashville, and I highly recommend them. You can call Michael Jordan and talk to him. He'll get you signed right up. They were amazing to me. Never once had an issue with them. I highly recommend them. But if the first 4 years that I was driving, I was with another agent, and I did not realize that they knew nothing about the car hauling industry. The big issue with that is I wasn't covered for hardly anything. One of the big things that companies don't give you is constructive loss coverage. Meaning, if someone hits you, their insurance is only required to pay for the damages that they caused. Well, if you're hauling new cars and they do $3,000 worth of damage and the factory decides, you know what, they're going to total the vehicle out, you have to pay for that. That's where your constructive loss coverage comes in. Their insurance company is going to pay the $3,000 of damage they actually caused to that vehicle, and then your insurance company is going to pay the possible other 30, 40, 50, 60, depending on the model you're hauling, $1,000 worth of damage, because the manufacturer decided, you know what, we're not going to fix this. This is a brand new car. It has never been sold. We're not going to sell a car that has already been repaired like that, so we're just going to crush it. And I didn't have that in the beginning. I never had an issue with that. But when I realized that, when I found out that I needed that kind of insurance, I went out and got it. That is something to really pay attention to, because, like I said, they will turn around and the insurance agent will tell you anything to get you to sign on with them so they can get their commission, and they don't know anything about car hauling. Car hauling to hauling a flatbed or hauling a dry van is completely different insurances. It's written differently. You need coverages differently. It's a whole different world. So that is something to think about with insurances. That's a very big topic. I could do a whole entire vlog on that, and I don't know a whole lot about insurance, but I can do a vlog on what I have learned over the years about it. The next one is doing your billing. If you have your own authority, it is your job after you're done transporting those vehicles to send out the bills. You have to bill everybody. Whereas if you're signed on to somebody, that's their job. That's your dispatcher's job or the billing department's job to send all the bills out, I would assume. But you now have to do that if you have your own authority. Again, it's not that bad, but it is a little more work. That's the reason you get the other 20% of the load. If you're signed on with someone, a lot of times you're paid 85% of the load. If you have your own authority, you get 100% of that load. So that's just something to think about. The other one is doing collections. If you're signed on with someone, look, it is their responsibility to pay you. If you have your own authority, yeah, that other person is supposed to pay you, but that doesn't mean that they always do. And that can be very challenging, especially if you have to start calling and more or less begging for your money. You can be chasing somebody for months to get your money, and you could also never see it. So you could be doing loads thinking you've got $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 coming in for this load, and it never arrives. That hurts, and that can take a long time to recoup. Whereas if you're hauling for someone else, I would assume that you don't have those issues, or even if you do, it's not nearly as bad. The next thing to think about is your cost of doing business. If you're signed on with someone, a lot of times they have a fuel purchase program and a tire purchase program, two of the biggest costs you're going to have. And a lot of times that can save you 15, 20, 25, 30 cents a gallon at the pump. Most of us when I was out there, you don't have a fuel purchase program. You're paying pump price. Your fuel purchase program is paying cash to get the 5-cent discount over paying with a credit card. But that's another whole story. You should always pay with the credit card over paying with cash. There's other bonuses and rewards that comes with that. But that's besides the point. You turn around and the cost of everything is a lot more. When your tires, you're paying sticker price. You're not getting a 25% discount on the cost of your tires. Maintenance, same thing. A lot of these big companies that you can sign on with, they have deals already worked out with truck stops for doing oil changes or certain maintenance shops, or they have their own shops where you pay just a little bit over their cost and you can get work done a lot cheaper than taking it into the dealership or finding your own shops. So there's a lot of things to think about, and the answer to whether or not you should sign on with someone or you should go get your own authority is yes. Yes, you should. You should both, because if you're the type of person that really wants to grow your company and you want to possibly have 100, 200, 300 truck fleet at some point in your life, yeah, you should go get your own authority, because that's what you're striving for. If you just want to own your own truck and you just want to drive, then yeah, you should sign on with somebody. Because if that's the only truck you want, look, the money's not good enough to increase all that extra workload. And so there's a lot of things you have to think about. If with that workload, if you don't want to turn around and make 50 cold calls a day trying to get more clients, then yeah, go sign on with someone, because you're not the right person to be owning your own, well, having your own authority. But if that is something that you want to do, if your goal is to get out of the truck and get into an office and possibly make $2-3 million a year, yeah, go get your own authority, because that's the drive you're going to have. Because this 70-hour work week, when you have your own authority, there's no such thing. You're working 80, 90, 100 hours a week easily. You're doing your 70 hours a week of driving, and then you still have 20 to 30 hours worth of work. You have a whole week's worth of work once you get back to the office or to your house at the end of the week. You had a whole nother week's worth of work. So that's really something to think about. For me, I had some other things that I kind of wanted to do, so I've decided to get out of owning my own equipment. But I would say, if you're planning on having your own authority, I guess the biggest tip I could give you is, when you go into it with a business plan. Obviously, I've never said business plan, but go into it with a business plan to where you're going to own 3 to 5 trucks within 2 to 3 years. Whether you have finances, or your financing and that sort of stuff worked out so you know where you're going, whether you have an investor that's going to help you with some upfront costs. But just to go out here and wing it on your own authority, kind of the way I did. That's one of the major mistakes I did when I first started out. I didn't know nothing. I was 21 years old. Never driven tractor trailer for anyone. I just went out and started my own company. I winged it. That is not the way to do it. Have a business plan, have a business partner, have it set up to where your goal is to be driving a truck for no more than 2 years, 2 to 3 years. After that, and in the initial, for you driving, the only reason you're driving is because you're building clients. Build clients to where you have a full run set up, and then hand that run to a driver. And build another one, hand it to a driver. Build another one, hand it to a driver. And then you're out. Get out of the truck. The only way you can possibly grow your company is if you are out of the truck. So guys, thank you very much for watching. That's just my 2 cents. Comment below on your thoughts. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I way out in left field? You tell me. Give me your opinions. And also give some tips for anybody that's wanting to sign on with a company or to go get their own authority. Go down in the comments below and tell me a horror story that you've had with either. But guys, thank you very much. I love you. As always, God bless. Be safe out there, and I will see you on the next one.